first time that we've ever done anything like this, so I'm really excited to see everybody here to listen to our conversation. So I'd like to start out the evening by just introducing myself, and then Paul can introduce himself. I have a feeling you all know him. I recognize some of your faces, but not everybody, so I'm excited to start. Yeah. So my name is Hope Miller-Miles. I am an assistant director in the Student Activities Office. I've been here for almost 9 years, and I came here only a few months after something really traumatic happening to me, and so this part of my life has been a second life. So we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight, and I'll let my friend Paul talk.
Well, I'm Paul. I know most of this here, but not everybody. I'm a freshman here at Stevenson, BizCom major. I guess it's like the cliche thing to say. And also, just like Hope, the reason why I came here is because something happened in my life that was very traumatic and led me to meet Hope and led me to Stevenson. So hopefully, you guys will shed a couple tears. Not sure.
All right, so let's get started. Can everyone hear us okay? And
y'all need to speak up. Just let us know.
we're not mic'd or anything because we wanted it to be intimate, and there's plenty of seats up front if you want to come up here. You don't bite. Hi, Vera. Hi. All right. So we thought that it would be important for us to start our conversation by explaining to you all how we met here at Stevenson, which was a little bit random and a little bit planned, but I was attending a student affairs meeting where Paul was speaking, and what he said really touched my heart. So, and I don't know that I would have had an opportunity otherwise to hear that side of Paul had I been passing. We passed each other how many times? And I don't know, unless we had another reason to chat, that we would have stopped to have a conversation with one another, and hence this is why we call this event the conversation. So Paul, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you ended up at the Board of Trustees meeting and what you talked about?
Okay, well, does anyone know who Jeff Kelly is?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, so if you know, it's either you got in trouble or you're an RA. So basically, he oversees all the students if something goes wrong or something bad happens, but his job is more than that. So that's my mentor, and basically he was just asking me questions about my life. I told him about my football injury, which we will get into details later on, but they usually choose like a junior or a senior to speak at the board meetings, which is like the President Manning has like his bosses, and then Hope and other people all come together and talk about how can Stevenson get better. And Jeff Kelly thought that I would be good to bring to just get them to understand what their students go through and to connect them with the community. So and when we met, it was kind of like I was the first freshman ever at a board meeting. So it's like, who's this kid?
It was big. It was a big deal, and on top of that, I don't get invited to those board meetings very often either. It's a pretty big deal to be invited. So it was random that I was there and that you were there at the same time.
It was very random too. I got the email like last minute. I thought it was one of those like mass emails, and then I happened to just click on it, and it was like, we want you to come out and speak, and I was just like, what? For what? Who am I? Just Paul.
You're not just Paul. I've learned that. So tell us a little bit about what you shared with the board, and therefore kind of get us going on what we started talking about.
Well, in my 11th grade year of high school, I was playing football. Well, I played all throughout high school, and my 11th grade year, my brother and I'm a twin, so we're fraternal. That's kind of cool, but he's an old man. So, and then my mom, you have this single mom trying to raise two boys that, want to play sports and want to be, rap artists and all of this. And then she has to go out and work. And didn't provide. And it's very hard for single parents. You know, I don't know if anyone out there has or was raised by a single parent, but it's very tough. And I guess sports was my outlet. You know, sports was the way I expressed myself. It's the way I relieved my stress. You know, I felt very relaxed and calm. And by 11th grade year, I guess God took it all away from me. You know, so we were playing Sherwood, which was our rivals, and I was backpedaling to plow into two people, and instantly my helmet collided with another person, and it cracked. And I went into shock. As soon as I hit the ground, I blacked out, couldn't breathe at all, and I was almost yearning for air. So I was gasping, and my coach was like, "Paul, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I couldn't give a response because I could not breathe. It was the scariest moment I've ever felt before. I've never experienced something like that. It was terrifying, and my life changed after that. I was airlifted off, and once I arrived to the hospital, the doctors told me that I would never walk again. Never walk again. And to be able to digest that, you can't, it's like, now you're just walking, and now someone's telling you, like, you're never going to be able to walk, you're not going to be able to use the bathroom on your own. Excuse me. And yeah, it was scary. And from that moment on, I was like, my life is over. My life is over. I'm going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. I'm going to have to rely on everybody else. You know, so it was scary. It was very, very, very scary. Yeah.
So
I can talk more about it.
you can talk as much as you want, Paul, whatever you want to say, and we can jump back and forth because it's our conversation.
Well, we hear about your story. I like your story.
So it's upsetting for me to hear Paul tell the story. One, because he's such a young person, and that is so terrifying to have that feeling. And the reason it's terrifying is because I know what that feeling is. 2007, I was a young working mom taking a lunch break. I was sitting outside of a local Starbucks reading a book, and there were a lot of people outside that day. And I was chatting with someone sitting near me who was asking for directions, and everyone sitting outside turned to hear the wheels of a car squealing in the parking lot, like the sound of tires squealing when someone's going too fast. Everybody sort of stopped what they were doing and looked around, and it's funny because do you remember like every moment of it? I remember every moment. And the car was it was a black Toyota 4Runner. So it's a big car. It's careening through the parking lot. It's coming towards us. There's an empty parking space right in front of the tables in front of the Starbucks. Everyone else got out of the way. I was sitting closest to the wall behind a ginormous metal table in a big heavy metal chair. And I saw her coming towards me, and I yelled an expletive. And the next thing I know, the car took me out. She flew up over the curb, and she got me on my left side as I was turning to try to get out of the way. I remember that, all the way up to that. And then some time passed. I don't know how much time passed, actually. I know that I woke up, I was under the car. I could smell the car. I could smell the pan dripping next to me. I could smell the exhaust. I knew intensely that I needed to get out. I had a very strong push to try to save myself. It was very scary. And at that moment was when your adrenaline kicks in. And I tried to get out. I tried to crawl out, but my legs wouldn't work. And I was in searing pain. So I pushed myself out on my belly. I pushed myself out. I had no idea where I was going because I didn't have a picture of where I was under the car. But I kept pushing myself out until I felt someone grab my ankles and pull me the rest of the way. And they turned me over, and there was a woman, and she sat next to me, and she said, I'm a nurse. I was in the bank next door. I saw everything happen. I'm not going to leave you.
It sounds similar to my story too, because my coach had actually sat next to me and was holding my hand. And the scariest thing was I didn't even feel him hold my hand. So he's sitting there just talking to me like, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, trying to keep me awake so I wouldn't fall back asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And the parent,
feel so sleepy.
yes, oh my gosh. It was like, you take NyQuil, like, you know how like you take NyQuil, you're just out. It was so bad. And my head was like,
urge to sleep.
Yo, it was like crazy. My head was like pounding up against my skull. And the paramedics had came over and was like, yo, can you, like, we're gonna feel your legs, squeeze Coach Nazar's hand to let us know that you can feel your legs. So they began to touch my legs, and I'm like, I can't feel anything. I don't know if you're touching me. And they were asking me like, yo, can you feel? They'd say, yo, they're like, can you feel me touching your legs? And I'm like, no, I can't. What are you talking about? Like, I can't feel. What are you talking about? I can't feel you touch my legs. And like, okay, we're gonna touch your arms. And like, move your arm. Can you move your arm? And I'm just like, I'm moving it. Can you see it? They're like, coach is like, Paul, you're not moving your arms. You're not, like, what are you talking? You're not moving your arms. It's just like you were saying, you're trying to get up, but you couldn't. And that's how I was instantly trying to get up. That's your first reaction when you fall, to get back up. And I could not move at all. And that was the scariest feeling.
It's
feeling.
panic.
Yes.
It's utter panic.
Yes, it is. And it's almost like you know how like your leg falls asleep? But it's like that, but worse. It's crazy. It's crazy. But how was your recovery? Like, how was that like?
Well, I mean, it was a long way, right? So I was on the sidewalk for a long time. You know, do you remember like laying there? Like, I laid on the sidewalk what seemed like hours. It wasn't, but it seemed forever. And I actually, you know, I experienced that same sensation of wanting to sleep. And I experienced the people around me trying to keep me talking, trying to keep me awake. And I said to them, there was only certain words that would come out of my mouth. I kept saying, my babies, I have babies. And they said, are you pregnant? And I said, no, I have babies. I mean, the vocabulary wasn't coming out of my mouth. And they said, who can we call? I told them, call my husband. His number's in my phone. Where's my phone? Where's my purse? Wait a minute, what's happening? Where's all my stuff? It was everywhere. It was everywhere. I can't even tell you how terrifying it was. I was so frustrated, and I was mad, and I was scared, and I was like, why do you keep asking me the same questions? Yeah. What's your name? What's your address? Yeah. What's your phone number? What's your birth date? What's your address? Yeah. What's your phone number? What's your social security number? What's your mother's name? What's your grandmother's name? What's your dog's name? Yeah. I said, why do you keep asking me these questions? I already told you that. They said, oh, we need it for another form. I said, can't you just check the other form? I mean, it was kind of funny, and I think that was them trying to keep me from going to sleep. And I said, I feel so sleepy, can't I just close my eyes for a minute? And they said, absolutely not. They said no. And on the ride to the hospital, every bump and every turn hurt so much. And when I got to the hospital, they popped out. I don't know if anyone here is in the medical profession, but they popped the gurney out, you know, and it chunked like on the ground. And they as they're wheeling me in, the doctor's talking to me, talking to them, talking to me, talking to them. How you doing there? I said, well, I don't know. I said, am I going to die? That was the one thing I remember saying. Am I going to die? And he said, well, I hope not.
That sounds so similar to my story too. I was actually airlifted off of the football field, and the entire time, the guy next to me was just asking me, how do you feel? Does it hurt too much? We'll be there soon. And all I remember was us landing and everyone rushing over to pull me into the hospital and asking, like, all right, I could like hear them mumbling and I couldn't like, trying to figure out what they were saying. And I'm just like, all right, what's gonna happen to me? So I'm just like laying there, just waiting for answers the whole time. And my body is killing me. I'm sleeping, waking up, sleeping, waking up.
Did they give you anything?
Yeah, they gave me, I don't even know. It was a nursing major. Anyone? No.
They should be here.
Okay. All right. No one wants to say this. Yeah. I mean, they gave me oxy, which is like
They give you good stuff.
They give you stuff. They give you stuff that you get high.
I mean, the morphine is good.
Yeah. They gave you stuff.
But when you need it, when you need it, you need it.
Yeah.
That's the sad part about it.
Yeah.
You really need it. So, so you asked about recovery, and I think like this is where we also have a lot in common because I remember just waking up and just not understanding like what was happening. Like I didn't understand why my legs were braced into this weird thing and why I had a trach tube. So if you've ever been conscious, have you, right? And you have a trach tube in you. It's horrifying to have a tube down your throat into your lungs, but you're awake. It's awful. That was worse than anything. And I begged them to take it out, but I had to use hand signals. So I took my husband's hand and I spelled the words "take it out." It took him a few minutes to figure it out, and he acted on my behalf and demanded that they take it out. And they said, "But she needs it," and I said, "I don't want it. Like, get it. I'm fine. Like, get it." And they did it. That was like the first part, right? So that was the first part of my recovery, was taking control of the situation and making something happen for myself.
Yeah.
Right?
Mine was so I had a C1 to C2 spinal cord contusion. So if anyone knows what that is, it's basically like a separation of your spine, which is the worst possible thing that could ever happen to someone. And I was wearing a neck brace so that I wouldn't move too much. And so the whole, maybe 3-4 months, I'm staring at the ceiling the whole time. I don't know what a person's face looks like at this point. And like you were saying, like you told them to take it out. For me, it was more so, can you like get me out of the bed? And they're like, no, you have to stay here. And then this one time, I don't know, maybe like 2-3 weeks went past, the nurse got me out of bed. And my first step, I couldn't feel my feet touch the ground. And it was like, yo, like this is real. And I passed out and they had to put me back on the bed. I blacked out again. And they were like, this is the last time, like we're getting you up. But I think that was my first fight to be able to be where I am now, you know.
And the fight is really what is another thing that brings us together, right?
Yeah.
Is a fight for ourselves, and in the name of why were we spared, right? Like that's, I think one of the things we've talked about is, you know, you start to question like, how did I make it out of this, and why? What is the purpose, and how can I make good on what I've been given? I don't share that with everyone. You know, I only share it with people that want to know, but also because it's deeply intimate, and very personal, but hearing Paul talk about it, it was really easy for me to relate because I feel the same way. Like, you have to make good on what you've been re-gifted. And so it makes me look at life a lot differently than most people because my life is it's a completely different life than what I had before the accident.
Yeah, same thing for me too. It's like, I was so ungrateful. I thought, yo, I got it bad, man. My dad's not here. I gotta work for everything I want. I didn't have any support really. My mom was always working, and my life changed again. And it was like, God, when are you gonna give me a break? Like, I'm already messed up, you know? And it's like, that was my blessing. Like, to others, it may seem like you got it rough, like you had it rough. But if I would have not gotten hurt, I wouldn't know what it feels like to overcome adversity. I wouldn't know what it feels like to be able to fight in this world and to overcome everything that life throws at you. Because you can just sit there and take it. I was around people that was just sitting there sobbing and drowning in all of their sorrows. And I think God was telling me, like, yo, you gotta be, it's either you be like them or you fight. And I fought, you know? So, I can relate, yo. I can relate.
I think that, I think for me it was very similar. There were many people that sort of expected me to just take it and be injured for the rest of my life. And I decided that was not going to be good enough for me, that I was going to fight it, that I was going to change their minds. And I remember my mom was my primary caregiver when I was finally sent home. I spent a month in the hospital. I spent a month, it was May 22nd, so it's coming up, May 22nd, and I went home on July 1st. And then, is that a month? No, that's 2 months. Oh, maybe I went home in June, and then I came back. I went back about 2 weeks later because I had pneumonia. But I came home in a wheelchair, and my family had to rearrange our whole house. They had to bring my bed. They had to get a hospital bed brought in, put it in our living room. I had a little TV that someone had given me, and it only played VHS tapes. It was like one of those combo things, so the only like TV or anything in the room was the VHS tapes. So I watched Indiana Jones and Ghostbusters and like Beverly Hills Cop over and over again. I was in a chair. My wheelchair didn't fit in the bathroom on our first floor, so I had to have a potty seat. A grown adult, and I needed help getting onto the toilet, and I had no privacy. So can you imagine the indignity of having to go to the bathroom, having someone help you get onto the bathroom, help you do everything, and then help you get back into your chair? It's horrible, but you can't let it stop you from, it drives you, right? Like, it drives you to not want to have to do that anymore. And so that recovery process was a mental thing, I think, more than anything. And my mom, who was my main caregiver during the day, and she moved into our house, she took me to a doctor's appointment, and the doctor, who was the doctor that did this surgery on my hip, so we didn't really talk about like the specifics of everything, but so when the car hit me, my femur crushed through my hip socket. So my hip is put together with metal plates. Everything's on bionic, right? So I have 2 sets of metal plates because the first set of plates didn't work. So a year later, I had to have it redone. I broke 5 or 6 ribs. I had a collapsed lung that never reinflated, so I had to have a lung surgery to reinflate my lung surgically. My face, and we have a slideshow, but I don't know, it's okay, yeah. So my face was cut from inside my hairline all the way down to my chin. It split open when my face hit the ground when the car hit me. So I was really lucky that I didn't sustain any major brain injury, but I do feel like there was some bruising that happened. I lost memories. Like if you've seen TV shows about people that have amnesia, like I'm missing entire chunks of my life and I don't know where they went. People remind me of them, but so my face was split open. I also lost half of my pancreas and my spleen. So I had surgical scars all over my body. But one of the things, and I broke my pelvis. So my pelvis was broken in 4 places. So your pelvis is a ring, so it cracked in 4 different places. So when you have a pelvic injury, you can't walk until it's healed. And so for all of those months, I was in a wheelchair, and the doctor said to me, here's your x-rays, this is the best you can expect. Like, I said, well, so when do I get to go back to horseback riding? I have a horse. He laughed at me. I said, well, when can I go back to running? I was just getting into running at that time. I had run like a 5K, and I was really excited. Like, I loved running, and I was trying to get fit. And he said, you'll be lucky if you walk without a cane ever. You'll have a limp for the rest of your life. You won't be running. You will never get on a horse again. That is ridiculous. You need to stop thinking about that. And I said, well, what's the point? Why am I bothering with any of this stuff then? Like, there's got to be a way. And he said, sorry.
I mean, for me too, it's like, once I had my CAT scans and my MRIs, it was like, all right, so now what? What do we do now? And the doctor's like, well, I mean, it's hard to tell, but like, I don't have any answers with you, so I'm gonna get back later. I'm like, what do you mean? You're supposed to be the one to tell me, like, all right, let's move forward and let's figure out like the game plan. And he had no answers. So it was like I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, only to be left alone once again. And just like you were saying when you got back home, for me, I had a neck collar for about 4 months. So I got hurt October 25th of 2013, and I went back like near November of that same year. And once I got home, my mom had to basically, like you said, be my caregiver. Just like you, I couldn't use the bathroom on my own. I had to be helped. I couldn't eat on my own. I couldn't eat on my own. I could not use my phone. I couldn't do anything. And even taking showers, I couldn't even take a shower. I had to sit down on
a shower chair.
Yeah, shower chair.
It's so awful.
It's like, it's just crazy because like we're so independent and we do a lot of things on our own, a lot of the little things too. And when something happens that traumatic and now we're not able to do anything, it's like you're just sitting there, just waiting and letting people feed you. And it's just like you can't do nothing for yourself. Nothing. So what do?
It has to be what makes you want to change and make better on the situation, because it's the bottom. For us, like, that was the rock bottom.
Yeah, I thought I had it wrong. I thought I did.
No, it always could be worse.
Yeah.
But I mean, even when we were in that situation, like, it could have been worse for someone. I mean, we could have been dead.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I don't know. I guess like the cool part about meeting you is that I've never really met anyone else that's had the same. Not that I'm happy that you had that experience, but I mean, it's just cool that we can like talk about it and not be freaking each other out. Like when I talk about it with other people, when I choose to talk about it, it like makes people really upset. It makes people really feel like bad for me. But I don't mean for that to happen. Yeah. It's just a fact. Yeah. And so it's kind of really reassuring to know that we, in a moment where we want to talk about it, like there's that person that we have something in common that's really deep inside of us that not many people, can say that they share. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm interested in is, and I've not gotten to hear a lot of this, is what you did to get better.
Well, the funny thing is, not really funny, but once I got home, my doctor told me to play video games because my hands were just that bad that I could barely pick up the controller. So I'm sitting there playing it like a little joystick, and I guess that was my therapy. But in-house therapy, inpatient therapy, I played a lot of Wii because my motor skills, the most trouble I had was my upper extremities, which is like arms and everything. And my legs were good because I got big thighs, so they were good. They were good.
So do I.
They were good, but oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I was up trying to walk. I couldn't walk, so what they would have me like joisted in like I guess like I don't even know what to call it.
Harness?
Yeah, kind of like that, and they would like pick my feet up and place them on the ground, and I just kept doing that. So it was kind of like baby steps. And then the most frustrating thing was I had to pick up these blocks and put it in like little holes, and every time I picked it up, I dropped it. And it was like my arm, I had no control over my arm. It was like I picked it up and it was gone, like in an instant. And I was like, I cannot pick it up. I cannot pick it up. Stop making me pick it up. I can't pick it up. And she's like, you can do it. And that was the most encouragement I've ever had. And it was like something in me was like, all right, if she believes in me, then I need to believe in myself, you know? So it was mainly the baby steps that got me where I was today. It was just practicing the smallest things, the tedious activities over and over and over again, every day, waking up 8 a.m., 6 a.m., just to make sure that you can walk, you can do for yourself, you know what I'm saying? And it was tough. It was times where I'm like, why am I sitting here doing this? Like, this is not gonna help me. But in the long run, it did. It helped me regain my upper extremities because I couldn't feel my hands and my legs for about 4 or 5 months. And yeah, medication sucked. It made me worse. It didn't make me better. My face kept getting swollen. My feet kept getting swollen. Couldn't walk.
Did you take those shots?
Yeah.
The shots
Yeah.
to keep your blood clots away? Yeah.
It was just so much physically it did. Like, it was crazy. But, yeah. We do have a lot of the stuff that they cut from us during the events that occurred. So I have my helmet, my jersey, and then hope we have a couple of stuff too.
Yeah, I brought my clothes that were cut off of me on the sidewalk in front of everyone.
Also, we have.
I'm embarrassed that I was like laying on the sidewalk. I'm not worried about the fact that I'm dying. My favorite jean jacket was cut. You can see I like wear this jean jacket all the time, but like my clothes were cut off of me. And I'll tell you like a funny story is that Paul said, "I have all my stuff. Do you have your stuff?" And this was weeks ago, and I said, "You know, Paul, I think I threw them away. I think last year." Ron brought them to me and said, "What do you want to do with these?" And I was like, I don't know. I maybe want to throw them away. Maybe I'm ready to get rid of them. They've been in a box in my garage all this time. And I think he was getting ready to take it to the trash, and I think I stopped him and said, "I'm not ready yet. Just put it back." And so this morning, when I was getting ready to leave for work, I said, "Oh, this is what I'm doing tonight," and I was gonna bring my box of stuff, but I remember I threw it away, and he was like, "No, you didn't. It's in the garage on the top shelf." And I thought, there was like a symbolism there, right? Like, I really wished I had thrown it away in a way because I kind of wish that I had let it go, but I don't know that I'm ready to let it go yet because it is so much a part of what drives me, and so I keep it. But what happened this morning was I opened the box, and Paul was actually in my office when I opened it, and all of this broken glass fell out that I didn't even realize was in there, and it was kind of upsetting to me because I didn't know that was in there. Like, I ripped the bag open and it was just an avalanche of broken glass that was caught in all my clothing. So
yeah, these things have meaning to us. I mean, every time we look at them, I know for me too, it's like, this is where you were, and you can fight whatever comes at you. Like, this is nothing, you know? So, just like you were saying, every time I'm reminded of every session in therapy, every tear I cried on that bed, every time, you know, I was throwing up or passing out again, it was a cycle over and over and over.
Getting up in the middle of the night,
exactly.
no one's coming to help you because
Yes.
everyone's asleep.
Yes.
It's not their fault.
Yeah.
Those were hard nights when you needed help to get out of bed because you had to go to the bathroom, but everyone else was asleep upstairs and the house is quiet and you're calling for someone and you're using your phone to call them and no one's answering the phone and no one hears you calling and you're stuck downstairs and you have to pee. What are you going to do? What do you do when you're not supposed to walk? Your hip is broken or you can't walk and you just do what you have to do. I mean, many times I got up on my feet and scooted and just moved myself to the chair next to my bed because I couldn't wait. And I don't want to wet my bed. But I tell you, like, the articles do drive us in different ways. And I think even though mine are tucked away in a box in my garage, out of sight and out of mind, they're there in spirit. I thought I threw it away, so it was there in spirit anyway. And I think it reminds you that you can overcome it, and you might have to have it happen to you in order to know that inside yourself, but it's possible. It's definitely possible. And so for me, when I started physical therapy, they said, so wow, you're in rough shape. What do you hope to get out of this? And I said, well, I really want to ride my horse again, and I really want to run. And they kind of like looked at me, and they said, well, you have a lot of work to do. And I said, I know. And they said, all right, well, let's get going. And that was the beginning of that. And the accident was in May. And by October, I was back on horse with the help of my friend Mandy. And I ran a race later that year. And then I ran another race. And then I ran another race. And I ran 6 half marathons after my accident, just to prove a point. And then I got really tired. I was kind of like Forrest Gump, right? I just started running, and then I turned around and ran home. So it was kind of like that, really. It was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. And it was really to prove it to myself that I could do it. And I'd like to get back into that kind of shape again. Working here keeps me really busy, and I don't have a lot of time to do those things. But one thing we talked about also, it just occurred to me, is community.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
We didn't talk about community because I think it's a huge piece of what kept us going too. And I know, like, for me, it was interesting for me in retrospect to look back at who gathered around and helped me out and helped my family, brought meals and took my kids and did stuff. My niece Caitlin did a lot, my mom, people that I wasn't even that close with, I would have thought before the accident became my very best friends, who are still to this day. And people that I knew before that, I didn't really hear from them.
Yeah.
It was like hard for them, I think. I don't fault them for it. I just think it was like different people come in and out of your life at different times. But your faith community was really important to you.
So my school really, really rallied around me. A lot of my teachers that I wasn't really fond of kind of came over my house, bringing food. And then I didn't really have a church home either. So a lot of people who I knew that had churches came out, prayed for me, and prayers work. Like, prayers really do work. that was one of the things that really sparked, a fight in me too. It was just people coming to the hospital and praying with me and crying over me and just telling me it was going to be okay. But it was big. I instantly blew up on Twitter. Like, that was the biggest thing I've ever seen. I've never trended on Twitter. Peter's out there, he can attest to that. And then, I also got some attention from news outlets. So WUSA 9, which is like, big channels, all that. They put me up there and just told everyone like how I was doing. And, when I came back to school too, they also spoke to me, interviewed me, asked me, what happened and all of that.
When did you go back to school?
I went back to school like January. So I had missed like at least 75% of my junior year. No, it was February actually. Yeah, I missed like 75% of it. So the teachers and everyone was like, well, we don't know if you're gonna graduate because you missed like most of your junior year, and that's when you take ACTs, SATs. And the administrator actually went to the board and said, I'm pretty sure you guys heard about Paul, this is what happened, can we do something about it? And they wiped out all my grades and actually helped me go to the 12th grade, which was a blessing too. So yeah, I mean, community is a big thing. When you're down, it takes a lot for you to fight, and then it takes a lot for the people around you to fight with you.
Oh God.
So yeah, that's the other thing we try to stress, and that's why we had this event. Because you wouldn't know anyone's story unless you talk to them, right? So the people next to you have something that you can relate to, but if you never ask, you'll never know. So that's the other thing too that we're trying to stress by having this event, is to care and to love people, because you never know when someone's going to be taken from you. You never know when someone's going to be in the hospital. You never know anything. So cherish the loved ones, cherish your community, cherish your family.
And you never know like who you have something in common with.
Yeah.
Or who could be someone of great support to you unless you stop and take the time to listen to who they are and what their story is. I think that's what I've learned mostly. And I think we are hoping that there's someone else out there that listens to us that finds that they have something deeply in common with someone else that they may want to share with everyone else at some other time, doing the same thing that we're doing here tonight. So, maybe if someone wants to do it, they can email Paul or email me. But I guess we can.
So what happened with the lady? Like, why did they do that?
Well, can I talk about this? She, from what I understand, she was in a hurry to get to the Starbucks, and she was speeding in the parking lot. She was going down the wrong way. Like, in the shopping center, there were one-way lanes. Like, you could only go up, and then you could only go down. And so she was going the wrong way down that direction to try to swing into the space, and she miscalculated, and she was very upset. She was upset about it. I mean, I know she was upset about it, and she was on her phone. And she says she wasn't, but the gentleman that I was talking to, who is now my very close friend, he comes checks on me, and we have lunch once a year around the time of the accident. Actually, sometimes we do it at Christmas too. So he said that he could see her on the phone, screaming at her friend, that she had run into the window of the Starbucks. So the car flew up over the curb and went into the window of the Starbucks. And luckily, actually, the front end of the car wedged itself into the windowsill, the brick windowsill of the Starbucks, or else it would have crushed me. So I was really lucky that it happened that way. Just like Paul's lucky that his spinal cord wasn't severed.
Yeah.
So it's just a fraction. Everyone's life is within a fraction. So what happened? We went to court months later, and she was not charged with anything significant, and that was upsetting. I wanted her to be punished for her negligence, but you know, the courts rule. I mean, that you have to accept it. And I chose, this is big actually. So what happened to her is irrelevant in the sense that I didn't let it bring hate into my heart. I don't hate her. I don't wish ill on her. I found that the most effective way of healing myself is to be positive and to think about things in a positive way and to use that as a force to push me forward rather than feel negatively towards her, because I've seen so many people in my own life allow negativity towards others to let them stagnate in a place that they could get out of if they let go of those things. So it's like baggage. So what happened to her isn't really what most people would consider justice, but I do also believe that we live in a hell that we create for ourselves. Yeah. And I have a feeling she was pretty upset about it for a really long time, and you know, that's what happened. I don't really know. Actually, weirdly, I accidentally drove past her house today. I didn't mean to, but I ended up on the street, and I was like, oh my god, I'm here. I had to turn around right now. Like, I was like, not looking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hey, what do you say? What's your outlook on football now?
Football? I mean, I love the sport. Just like, it's kind of like being football is just like you and that lady. If I was like, all right, football's the worst sport ever, I'm actually a manager here for the football team too. So I guess my outlook on football is that it builds character. You know, without football, I wouldn't be able to understand how to fight. You know, because it just promotes a sense of urgency. It promotes a sense of discipline, and that's what I had in my rehab. I had a sense of urgency. I have to get better. I had a will to, you know, get better and get healthier. So football is probably one of the best sports you can ever play, aside from being hurt and getting injuries like myself. And in other cases, people have died with similar injuries that I have. So, I mean, it definitely should be a lot of more research and attention to ways that they can stop, you know, some type of injury like myself, you know. But you can't really stop fate. So, yeah.
KJ, I have a question.
Yeah, so I remember you saying like you couldn't feel anything for about 4 or 5 months. What was your like initial reaction when you could first feel something?
I was jumping up and down. I cried. I'm like, I can't believe I can feel my legs. Like, this is God. Like, yeah. I mean, I cried. I was posting stuff up on Instagram. Hugged my mom. Oh, that was the worst thing too. Since I couldn't move my arms, I couldn't hug anyone. Couldn't reach out and touch anyone's hands. So to be able to hug my mom again, like that just made me cherish her more. And I think that was the greatest thing that you know, I look from and I'm grateful for, is that I was able to just love on people and love on my family, because I didn't cherish her enough, you know. So yeah, that was a great question, Kate. Everyone had great questions.
So many questions.
I have a question for you. You said you were a young mom. Like, how did that work with your kids? How did that affect them?
So the question was, I'm repeating it because we're recording this. So the question was, how did I cope with being a young mother? My daughter was in kindergarten and my son was 3. So really the burden of caring for my children fell onto my husband and my mom and my niece, Caitlin, who helped on the weekends to give my mom a break, and everyone else that came and picked them up and took them places and gave them rides to things or took them to the park or whatever. It was very hard for them because, of course, I worked at their preschool. I was the secretary at the preschool. So, you know, I dropped them off at class in the morning, worked at my desk, went to lunch, and never came back. And Natalie's kindergarten graduation was a week after that happened, or 2 weeks later or something, and she was on the playground and she fell and broke her arm. So my kid is in the hospital getting her arm casted, and I'm in the hospital, and I missed her kindergarten graduation. I think it just, I don't think that they remember a lot of what happened. I mean, I think that a lot of that, they were just too young to retain a lot of that. Natalie remembers her arm breaking. She remembers because her cast was too tight and they had to reset her arm and she was miserable and nobody noticed because they were all so busy fussing over other things. I think looking back, it was all such a blur. I don't even know how it got managed, but I know that it was because of my close family that made it happen. I mean, it was exhausting. It was exhausting for them, and because not only did they have to take care of 2 kids, but they had to take care of me. I was like a third child. So, yeah, and I think now, you know, when I mention it or when it comes up, we don't talk about it a whole lot, but when it comes up, it's kind of, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like, I don't think it doesn't affect them as much now as it did at the moment when they were little. And I think I don't know if I'm a better mom. I might be a little more selfish, but my family says I changed. They say that my personality changed afterwards, and I would say that's not untrue. But I think it changed for the better. I think I'm a much stronger person, and I think I'm more resolute in what I want. I don't think that I am wishy-washy or insecure about certain things. And I would say, like, that's one of the things we've actually talked about is that, and I'm kind of veering off of the kids' question, but that we've talked about how it's made us more direct in our charge towards the things that we want to get out of life, and because you don't know. And and you talked about how, like, you had different concerns before.
I mean, for me, I was in high school, so girls was a big thing. So I was kind of like trying to find myself in things that really wasn't working out. So girls was one. I tried to find my identity in sports, and you know, just things that doesn't really last long. And like you were saying, I guess for me, I was content with myself. I loved myself. I was grateful for everything every position that I was in, you know, and it just changed my whole process on life and people and who I was. So my identity was not more so what I did on this earth, but more so who created me and my family and stuff like that. So, and then when I say my creator, I mean Jesus Christ. So,
Anyone else have a question? How about them back and then, you call it.
Okay. For both of you, are there like any set of like values or things like have been like instilled into your life? So like for both, like obviously, like if you see like a family member, someone driving and not paying attention, or is there something in you that changes, like you know, stop texting while driving, or like you know? Yeah. And then for Paul, like going on from now, like possibly having like children in the future, are you gonna like be against like contact sports? Are you gonna like think twice before your son says, or your future son says, like, I want to play football, you know what I'm saying? So like from now on, like in the future, how does this both affect you? Like how do you look on things now?
I'll tell you, I get more nervous about like crossing the street and being around moving vehicles. That's where my judgment and my fear come into play. I get a little creeped out about parking lots. I have to say, like, I'm not nearly as careful about the phone in the car as I should be. I'm not. And it's something that I work on. My kids work on it with me all the time. But, you know, the red light is such a great opportunity to check Facebook. I mean, I know it's so terrible. It's such a bad habit. But, like, just being honest, you know, for me, like, that's another, like, thing. It's like, you just have to be honest about your feelings, too. So I'm not doing a great job of that. But I'm much more cautious, like, crossing the street, and you can ask anyone, like, I freak out crossing the street. I don't like, when I run on the road, like, it's an ultimate fear test for me to run on the road when I go running, because if there's no sidewalk, like, well, goodness, if someone's not looking or someone's not, avoiding you well enough, like, that could be it. So I'm always thinking, like, where can I jump off the road? Like, how can I spring off the road and land in the bushes? Or, like, I'm always thinking about that stuff. It's kind of it's a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder that I struggle with on my own. But yeah, for me, that's how it affects me, is I'm a little skittish about stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's well, since I'm around sports here, every time someone gets hurt, it's like, are they okay? You know, like, let's figure out, like, what's going on. Especially in high school, I was a legit coach, so I was on the field, and then, like, I remember, like, when my friend, I was a basketball coach too, so when my friend, like, twisted his ankle on the court, like, I was a little, like, panicky, like, oh crap, he, like, broke his leg, like, I'm, like, a little scared. But I mean, that's how it affects me with sports-wise. But kids and everything, I would kind of be cautious, but I want my kids to play sports. You know, I want my kids to understand what it's like to, be in a family outside of their, immediate family, and just, learn the core principles that I did. So I would probably let my kids play football. It would be that second, thing in my mind where it's like, all right, we got to teach them, how to tackle and stuff like that, so they don't, end up similar to me, or just be aware. So yeah.
I have a question. You kind of answered it already, but I just wanted to know, Paul. I see you, because you're a football manager, you're on the field all the time, and then you see people get injured all the time. Does that bring back flashbacks, or?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Every time I see someone on the ground, I'm just like, I hope it's not something, too bad. But I think that's kind of like my healing too, because once I see people get back up, I'm just like, all right, yeah, they good, and then I'm like, I'm good, so be good, But I mean, it's awesome. I think that's why I like sports too. I mean, I just love just that unit and family and everything. That's why I'm a manager, really, and the money too.
But, I'm gonna admit that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's good if you can find something that you want to do and you can get paid for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the best job ever. That's what I do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do.
Yeah. But thanks, everybody. Is there any more questions first?
Oh yeah, one more.
I was curious, Paul, the player who tackled you, did you interact at all after, and what that was like?
I mean, it was kind of crazy at first. The guy that actually injured me is now going D1.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So
Good guy.
he's blessed too. He still got me from school, but it was kind of weird trying to reach out to the dude. His name was, I don't want to put him out there, but his name is Travis. He went to Sherwood, obviously, and when we first texted, it was kind of like he was a little bit distant. But when we first interacted, the first thing he kept saying was, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And he's like, I didn't mean it to happen like that. I was trying to get around, like stuff like that. So it was kind of like, I felt his pain. I felt that he went through some stuff too, like waiting on the updates and figuring out if I was okay. To this day, I reach out, I get a response, but not like in-depth like conversation. So, but it's not like, to a whole extent. Like we didn't go to court or anything, but I mean, why would we go to court?
Oh no, it was a different,
But yeah, I mean, it's been a blessing too for me, because now I understand like other people's pain, and I'm very forgiving too. So it was more of a challenge on me to be able to embrace everything that he was saying to me. So yeah.
Yeah, don't you feel like it makes you more flexible?
Yeah, it does.
I think it does.
And I can forgive you.
Yeah. I don't hold a grudge
Yeah.
because there's no point. Life's too short.
Yep.
Huh. Well, Paul. This is awesome. I'm so glad that we did this. Let's have a big hug. This is what we like to do. Aww.